going to do a little kind of reading activity. This is a bit of a review and an expansion of what a lot of you did in level 7, where we learned how to like read without a dictionary. Oh my God, I'm just squatting. Hold on, I'm going to stand up. Okay. Can you see my head? Where am I? Okay. So a lot of students, when we're learning academic reading skills, we have to kind of unlearn the bad habit of looking up every word you don't know in the dictionary. There's a lot of problems with doing this. One of the problems with doing this is speed. So if you're stopping every time you don't know a word and like looking it up in your dictionary, like finding out what you think the meaning is, translating it, writing a translation above the word, this is like an incredibly slow process. And if you remember like our different kinds of academic reading, like we have deep reading, skimming, scanning, previewing, predicting, that's kind of a deep reading practice. Now, even for deep reading, I don't suggest reading like that because, again, in academic reading, like you don't have time. Like you have to read quickly because you have a lot of reading to do. So what you have to do as a student is kind of learn to be okay with not understanding every word. Like you just have to be okay with it. And release yourself of the anxiety of not knowing what every single word means. Okay. So I'm going to give you some techniques to kind of read a text without using your dictionary. And you will notice that some of these techniques are from level 7. Okay. So the first and easiest one is just skip the words you don't know. Like, sometimes you'll notice, and it's a good idea to be able to do this if you can identify, hold on, grab a pen. If you can identify the word form, of the word you don't know, that's usually like enough information to continue. And you can usually identify the word form just by looking at the word's placement in the sentence. You can be like, oh, okay, that's an adjective. So I don't understand that word, but I know it's describing this noun. Or this is clearly a verb, so it is an action, and it's an action that the subject is doing. I don't know the meaning, but it's okay. So sometimes just identifying the word form of the word you don't know is enough to give you enough information to kind of continue reading. A lot of the academic reading you do, for example, skimming, you're just looking for the main idea. You are not looking for details. So you don't need to know every single word. If you don't understand a few words, it's kind of okay. Like, as long as you understand the general meaning. Okay. So, first, skip the words you don't know. Number 2, and this is the review from level 7. Can you see that? Is there like a window glare? Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm in a new spot in my sunroom. Okay. The next one is look for context clues. So just to review, context is everything that is around you. If you did not know my job, you can like look around me and get some context clues where it's like, okay, I don't know what this person does, but they're standing next to a whiteboard and they're holding a pen and they are teaching a lesson. So the context is telling me that this person is a teacher. And we can do the same thing with language, where if you don't understand a word in a sentence, looking around that word in a sentence, even in the sentences above it, the sentence around it, and the sentence underneath it, can help you maybe get a little feeling of what this word means. Also remember, we don't have to understand what this word means exactly. Sometimes just a little bit of information about the word is enough for us to continue. Like in this case, all we need to know is the word form, and then often that's enough to just continue reading. Okay, so if we're looking in the context, what are we looking for? Okay, so things we can look for. Number one, definitions. This is really common in academic reading, like academic writing, and also academic speaking, where because the speaker or the writer wants you to understand what they are talking about clearly, often they will give you a definition of any difficult term somewhere around the main words. Listen for this when you listen to lectures, because people will often say things like arachnophobia. Arachnophobia is the fear of spiders. Arachnophobia, blah, 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 blah. So often in writing, if it's a key term, like a term that's important or essential to the writing, sometimes they offer you a definition. When you guys wrote your essays, you had a chance to use a definition in the hook of your essay. And so this is a context clue where it's like, okay, so maybe I wouldn't understand this word normally, but the writer or the speaker needs me to understand this word for me to understand the whole thing. So look out for definitions. They're really common in academic writing and speaking. Okay. The next one is looking for contrast words, where because in English we really don't like to repeat ourselves, we'll often use synonyms or antonyms, meaning the opposite word to the word we are looking for. So if somebody says, I am ecstatic today, which is a surprise because yesterday I was so sad. So we have in our sentence after it, we have so sad. And this is a contrast to ecstatic. So if you don't understand what ecstatic means, you didn't know by the sentence that it means kind of the opposite of so sad. So you can imagine it means like very happy, basically. So sometimes you can look for words that contrast the word you don't know, and you can learn what it is by its antonym. Okay. Examples. As you guys know from writing essays, you know that, there we go. You know that in the body of our body paragraph, in our supporting details, often we are giving explanations, examples, and evidence. And this is the same when you're doing academic reading. They're giving you examples, explanations, and evidence. And so if you don't understand a word, maybe you can look at the examples they give of this word, and this can help you understand what the word means. So if they say something like, percussion instruments are an essential part of any rock band. For example, drums, cymbals, maracas, and tambourines. So we have this list of instruments after the word for example. So we have this list of words like, for example, drums, tambourines, maracas. So if you know what all of those instruments are, then you're like, I think I understand what percussion instruments are. With contrast and examples, you're going to look for contrast and example words, linking words or transition words. So contrast words are like, however, but, on the other hand. Example words are, for example, such as, like, for instance, yeah? So if you're trying to be like, oh, I need some context for this word I don't know, just quickly scan to see if you can find contrast words or example words, and this will help lead you to probably some information that helps you get some information about the word you don't know. Okay. Another thing you can do, as opposed to looking at context, so if context is what is around the word, instead we can look inside the word. So if I take the word, for example, international, I can break this word apart. Ooh, let me get a different color. So I have a prefix, inter, I have a suffix, al, and I have a root word. Oops. I have a root word, nation. So if I don't know the meaning of this word, you guys all know the meaning of this word, but if I did not know the meaning of this word, I can break this word into pieces, and each of these pieces give me meaning. So first, the root word is nation, which means country, right? Or the place where we live. Inter means between. And the suffix al means usually that it's an adjective. So actually taking apart this word has given us tons of information between countries, but as a descriptive word, as an adjective. So even if you don't know exactly the meaning, that's quite a lot of information about a word. So you can probably guess enough of the meaning of this word to continue reading. And this takes 2 seconds. You're like, boop, boop, boop. You just break it apart. This means this. This means this. If you aren't super familiar with like English prefixes and suffixes and their meanings, I strongly suggest that you do a little bit of research, because it does help so much in understanding English vocabulary. A lot of English vocabulary has Latin roots, like it comes from the same roots as like French and Spanish and Portuguese. It also has German roots. So if you know a little bit about how all those different languages are made, you learn a little bit more about English. Okay, I'm going to pause and then we will do a review. Okay, so just to sum up as an action list of things you can do, so basically, always read first for the main idea, and sometimes that's all you need to know. So if you can skim a paragraph and you understand the main idea, but there's like 4 or 5 words that you don't know exactly the meaning, don't worry about it. Like, just keep reading. Our brains do an amazing thing. It's called passive learning. Active learning is like you get a list of vocabulary and you like study it and you look in the dictionary and blah. But passive learning is like you see a word you don't know and your brain like takes in information about this word from the context. And then maybe a month later you see the same word, but it's in a different context, so your brain gets a little more information about the word. And then you see the word again, and then you see the word again, and eventually your brain will just figure out what this word means. We do this in our own languages all the time. Like if you're reading a news article on the internet in your own language, and there's a word you don't know, do you stop and look it up in the dictionary? Most of us don't. Instead, we kind of skip over it and like gain information from the surrounding area, from the context. And then eventually, if we do this enough and we see the word enough times, we will kind of understand what the word means. Okay, so read for the main idea. Don't worry about anything else. Don't stop reading. So don't break your reading to like look away and look at your phone and look at the dictionary. It really stops the like flow of the reading. Okay. Look for context clues, so look for definitions and examples and contrast and all of that stuff. Look inside the word, so what is the root of the word, what is the prefix, what is the suffix, and like what meaning do those things give you? And finally, kind of do all of the above all the time. Like if you get in the habit of doing this, it happens really fast, right? You're like, I don't know a word. What's the word form? And then can I break it apart? Like, what can I see inside the word? Cool. Now I'm going to look around the word. Can I see any contrast words? Can I see any example words? Yes. Cool. Oh no, look, there's a definition. Like, we get really fast at doing this. It just takes some practice. I really think for high levels that dictionaries are really not that helpful for you. They end up hurting you more than helping you. Also, the thing is with English is that we have so many words that have so many different meanings. I usually in class, I make my students look up the word level, Level, in the dictionary. Depending on your dictionary, there is anything from 6 to 32 different meanings of the word level. So if you break away from your reading and go into your dictionary, now you have to figure out which one of the 32 meanings is the correct meaning for this situation. And that ends up just wasting your time when you can just kind of do this, get enough information about the word to continue on. Okay, that's all for today. Good luck with your reading homework. Bye!